Hey, what's up, everybody? I'm Kenny Wayne Shepherd, and you're listening to and viewing Sonic Perspectives.
Whisper on the screen doesn't change a thing, doesn't bring you back. Blue on black.
We are halfway through November 2022, and 25 years ago, a Louisiana-born teenager riding on the heels of the success of his debut album went into the studio and recorded his sophomore musical effort, which went on to cement his already meteoric rise to the top of the contemporary blues scene. Today, we will be talking with the architect of that landmark record, who, besides not being a teenager anymore, is now a five-time Grammy-nominated, multi-platinum selling artist, and will bring you tons of details about how he's celebrating a quarter century from October 1997, when Trouble Is was released. Let's officially welcome Kenny Wayne Shepherd to this interview.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Let's kick things into gear with a simple question. In the current musical landscape, every couple of months there's an album celebrating a 10th, a 20th, or a 30th anniversary, and many bands resort to release lavish collector's editions and super box sets with tons of extra material plus remastering the albums, like Guns N' Roses' recent one for Use Your Illusion 1 and 2, or the upcoming Queen's The Miracle, even including a previously unreleased song with Freddie Mercury on vocals. However, this is not what you did here. Instead of putting together a new and improved version of your platinum awarded album Trouble Is, you took things further. You went and re-recorded the whole thing. What was your thinking process to arrive at such decision, opposed to taking the more usual approach I just described?
Well, for me, I knew that we were going to do a 25th anniversary tour of the Trouble Is record, where we would play the whole album live in concert for the very first time. Because even when it first came out, we never played every song on the record live in concert. So I thought, well, first of all, if we go in the studio and make a new version of this record, then we're already getting reacquainted with the music. It's already preparing us for the tour. And then, revisiting the record in the studio, I mean, it just sounded like a fun thing to do, right? To go back in, re-record these songs, see how close we could get to the original sound, but still infuse a slight difference of personality. And then in addition to all of that, we included a song, a cover of Bob Dylan's Ballad of a Thin Man, that we recorded for the original Trouble Is record, but it got cut and it didn't actually make the record. So we recorded that and put it on this record to give people a little bit of history and something that they didn't even know existed, with that song. Nobody really knew that we did that song and that it was supposed to be on the record. And then we did a documentary film where we tell the story of the making of the Trouble Is album. And then we recorded the first night of the Trouble Is tour, the 25th anniversary tour, in my hometown in Shreveport, Louisiana. And we recorded that show and are putting that out as a live DVD concert. So we did a number of different things to really kind of, acknowledge the significance both of this record and a milestone of a quarter of a century of this music. And what's so amazing is that even 25 years later, we do these songs and they still sound totally relevant. They sound totally current. I think that, the people are still showing. I mean, the tour has been selling out everywhere. So people are just as excited to hear this music today as they were 25 years ago. So the music is relevant and it stands the test of time. And that's always been the goal for me.
Kenny, when bands typically re-record an album from the past, either it's because there have been a huge number of changes in personnel and they're just trying to get something that people will be able to latch on to, or it's a contractual obligation and they're just walking through it to be able to get their contract taken care of. For the listener who knows you and is familiar with your work back to Trouble Is, other than Ballad of a Thin Man, what is the difference between the current and the past?
Well, so when we went in to record it, we did two versions of it. And then I was faced with, a decision, which version do we put out? So we did a version that was pretty faithful to the original. And then the other version was we played the songs as if we were playing them live in concert, because a number of these songs have kind of evolved over the past 25 years. You play them every night, and maybe, the drummer adds a fill here and there, and he's playing this, or the hi-hat pattern differently, or maybe I've like changed the licks that I play and Noah sings it, slightly differently here and there, or maybe all together, like it's really different. And then, so we had two versions, right? And so then I'm listening and I'm going, well, which one do we finish and release? And it came down to Blue on Black, because I listened to the version that was kind of true to the original. Mm-hmm. And then the version where it's like we're playing it the way it's evolved over the past 25 years live. And what I've realized is like sometimes, change is not a good thing. And especially when it came to that song, because what made the song so special is a number of things, but the vibe is so incredibly important for that song. And we had gotten pretty far away from that. You don't realize it when you're on stage and you're just rocking and you've been, pounding away and sweating and just laying it all out there for an hour and a half, almost 2 hours. And then you get to that song and you don't realize like how much you've changed it, but you go in the studio and everything is revealed. Mm-hmm. And you go, wow, this song, the vibe is just not there. And the vibe is what was so important for that entire album. So that was what made me realize we need to finish this record. It needs to be close to the original. So when you listen to the record, your brain immediately identifies it. It sounds close enough that like your brain's going to go, oh, I know that record. That's Trouble Is. But as you listen to the whole album, you're going to hear subtle differences, not drastic differences, but you will hear just enough things that are slightly different that it's going to catch your attention. You're going to realize you're having a new listening experience. And that was kind of the thinking behind, the approach to how we recorded the record.
Yeah. Joel, let me jump in with a follow-up, if I might. Does that mean in concert, when people see you on the 25th anniversary tour, that Blue on Black is going to be closer to the way it was on the recording and not the way it's evolved?
Yes, because, with that song in particular, I've had to press the reset button on that song several times in the past 25 years, because inevitably it's like, I'll realize that, man, we've gotten too far away from the spirit of the original recording of the song. Yeah. And it doesn't do that song justice to do that. It really doesn't. So there's been a couple of times in my career where I've looked at the band and I say, hey guys, we got to get back to square one here. Yeah. And then inevitably it gradually works its way away from it. And then you got to go, okay, it's time to rein it back. And so now we're back to square one again, and we're playing the song exactly the way that it was meant to be played and the way that the people want to hear it.
Okay, cool.
For your fans and for the critics alike, Trouble Is sort of became the album which struck a proverbial match that reignited the modern blues scene at the time. So if you look back at the time when you finished the record and maybe you sat down and listened to it, did you foresee in any way, shape, or form the impact it will carry throughout time and how timeless it will become?
Well, I will say that we knew we had a great album, right? But you never know the impact something is going to have until you put it out there and you see how the people react to it. We did not know. We knew Blue on Black was an incredibly special song, and we were excited to put it out there and see what happened. But we didn't know that we were going to set a record for the most weeks at #1 in the history of the rock charts at the time, right? So you never know. But I had a lot of confidence going into it that we had a great record, and that this was my moment and my opportunity to plant my flag into the soil and say, you know what, I'm here to stay, and this is why.
Production and engineering have Well, it's almost a different world between back then and now. So many changes. Did that impact the way you approached the music and the recording this time around?
Well, I mean, back then, this is a really interesting time, like 1997. When we did the first record, Ledbetter Heights, Pro Tools did not exist.
Right.
So my first album was 100% 2-inch tape, old school as it gets, like the old fashioned way of making records. And then between the release of that album and the recording of the second album, Pro Tools hit the scene. So this was new material. This was like new ground. This was like everybody was in the process of trying to figure out what Pro Tools was all about and what can we do with this. So, there was everything was changing rapidly, and the industry was about to be upended by the internet and, people downloading music. And so there was so much going on. But the production back then, what we did is we ran Pro Tools and we recorded to 2-inch tape simultaneously. I think because at the time, first of all, nobody had the real faith in the computer to not lose the recording. And, there's a tangible difference in sound between recording to tape and just doing it in the digital world. So we would do it simultaneously. And that's actually been something that I've carried on throughout the duration of most of my career is, doing it both analog and digital at the same time. So the approach on this record, I mean, is very much the same. I haven't really changed much about the way I do records because if it's not broke, don't fix it, so we play live in the studio as a band all together in the same room. We do the least amount of overdubs possible. We try to get it right the first time. And then, we try and capture the live sound in the studio. And that's what we did then. That's what we did now.
So for the original recording sessions of Trouble Is, you had the iconic Double Trouble lineup with Chris, Tommy, and Reese. And the record at the time was produced by Jerry Harrison. While giving birth to Trouble Is 25 as some sort of a reborn, how much did it feel like going back in time when sitting at the studio with this crew again?
Well, it was really cool. I mean, this has been an incredible trip down memory lane for me, especially because, we had everybody involved except for Tommy Shannon, and Tommy's been kind of retired from music for several years now. But I mean, we had Reese Winans, we had Chris Layton, we had Jerry Harrison producing, myself, Noah Hunt. My dad was there, I mean, the whole crew basically was back together again. And everybody just, related on, how good the material still was and how much fun it still was to play this stuff and what a great record that we had made back then. And we were going to recreate that now. And so, I mean, the whole thing has been an incredible experience. I'm really grateful to have done this.
Are you self-aware of how your guitar playing has evolved over 25 years?
Well, I mean, my approach has been pretty consistent. I never tried to be the flashiest player. I've never tried to be the fastest player. Some guitar guys, may think that my vocabulary is limited on the guitar because of it, or that I might reside for too long in one scale or another scale on the guitar. But, I just go back and look at the people that inspired me and what did they do? What did Hendrix do? What did Albert King and B.B. King and Freddie King and Albert Collins and Muddy Waters and all these guys? And they lived in all the same space. And really what they did at the end of the day was they just played straight from their heart with passion and fire and intensity. And they stirred up emotion in people because of it. Yeah. And that's just been my approach to playing, performing and recording from day one. And I think I've become more refined for sure. My technique is probably better. And I do have a bigger vocabulary, if you will, than I did back then. But the core of my sound and my approach to playing the instrument hasn't really changed that much. It's just evolved.
I wondered because the passion that anybody, whether it's an artist, musician, or whatever, the passion you got at 20 is a lot different than the passion you got at age 45 because of the experiences that you've had. And I wondered if that I guess, influenced what you were doing at all, that you could hear.
Well, I think maybe you get more depth, as you get older, because of the wisdom and experience. But as a kid, the youngster, you have that youth, the sound of that youth behind you, which I feel I can still tap into. I mean, it's the proof is in this recording. I mean, you go listen to The Trouble Is 25, and we're 25 years older, but you listen to that record, we don't sound 25 years older.
No.
And I think that we're still able to perform on that same level. I'm 45 years old and I can still play like I did when I was 18, and vice versa. Although in addition to being able to still play with that level of energy, then I've got everything that comes with almost 30 years experience of in the business and playing on stage every night.
Yeah, that certainly adds a whole another layer to what you're able to do, I would think.
Right.
Joel?
I'm gonna go back to something that you said before about Trouble Is 25, which is neither a 100% faithful reproduction of the original nor a complete reinterpretation. There are little details here and there that are different, especially tangible for me and my ears in somehow, somewhere, someday in the soul. So were you worried about at all regarding your diehard fans? How would they take these deviations after many of them have been hammering down these songs for 25 years?
Yeah, well, that's one of again, that kind of plays into why we chose the version that we chose, which was closer to the original, because I think that the other version, some of the songs were so far away from the original that people might not, they might go, man, well, I actually prefer the original Trouble Is, because that's what I've been listening to for 25 years, So this way, I think that, we kept the spirit of the original songs and we got very close to the sound of the original songs, but we put just enough little subtle differences where they feel like they're at least getting a different experience, for buying the record. And so, yeah, I think, and our fans are loyal, man. Our fans have been there along with us now for the ride for going on 30 years. And we've done all kinds of different things over the years. And one of the things that I think they appreciate about me and my band is that, we follow wherever the music leads us, and whatever the inspiration at the time may be, whether we do a more rock sounding record or a more traditional blues sounding record, or, whatever it may be. I think that, they are loyal and they're there with us, and they want to see an artist, follow wherever his inspiration might lead him. And that's, been the case for me.
I call Trouble Is, the original version, sort of a foundational work. Right. Foundational in that it set the groundwork for what you would be doing and the kind of audience support you would have over the next 25 years. Now that you're doing, it's not really a retrospective, but you're certainly redoing it somewhat at the end of those 25 years. Is this a foundational work for the next 25?
Well, I think this acknowledges the significance of the first 25 years, and this gives us, an alternate version for people to listen to. In addition to, it's kind of like a companion piece. All of these things are a companion piece to the original, documentary film telling the story of the making of Trouble Is. We did a live concert from the first show of the Trouble Is 25th anniversary tour. We did the new version, Trouble Is 25. All these things are companion pieces to the original album. They all kind of go in lockstep with one another.
But does this set the stage for a next phase of your career?
Well, no, what I think sets the stage for the next phase would be the next new material album. You know,
Okay.
like The Traveler, the last studio record we put
Yeah.
out in 2019. I mean, that was the introduction. This is the sound from my band for 2019 going into 2020.
Right.
And then waiting to see, well, what's the next album going to sound like, and where they're going to go next, you know, which we have a whole new record that's already finished, that's waiting to be put out. That'll probably come out sometime towards the end of next year. Then, you know, that's going to set the stage for what's happening moving forward until the next album after that comes out.
Right.
You know, but really, ultimately, it's like, you know, this album accomplished some incredible things. And some of the things that we accomplished with this record, I don't think are repeatable in today's world, because the industry has changed so much.
Yeah.
We sold millions of copies of this record. Today, if you are put into the blues category or the blues rock category, I don't know that it's possible for anyone to put a platinum record on their wall anymore, just because the way the business has changed. Not to say you can't be successful. There's other ways of measuring success today. It's streams, and really it boils down to ticket sales. You know, are the people showing up to hear the music? Because in this kind of music, which you know, it's hard to put really like slap a true label on what we do.
Yeah.
It's blues based, it's rock and roll, it's Americana, it's got all that stuff, you know, combined in it, but it's original and it's American roots music, right? But I think that ultimately it's about the live experience. You know, we've cultivated a fan base of people that want the live experience, and we deliver that to them. So that's really the measuring of success for today, and kind of has always been, really. I mean, you can sell records, but if nobody's coming up to see the concerts, there's no sustainability in that.
It is undeniable that making a record like Trouble Is in 1997 was really a monumental achievement for you and a defining career moment. Now that you probably took a trip down memory lane when revisiting these songs in the studio, with the experience of a quarter century under your belt, what would the current Kenny Wayne Shepherd would have told the 18 years old Kenny Wayne Shepherd to do differently?
Well, I don't think there's much that I would have done differently, even going back to the idea that I wasn't singing lead vocals at that point in my band. I didn't sing lead vocals in my band until my fourth album. And then I've continued to do so since then, you know, and Noah still sings lead vocals in my band and on my records as well. We now share the vocal responsibility, but going back to the first and second and third albums, it's like my voice wasn't ready. And so therefore, I don't think I would have had the success that we had if I would have allowed myself to get pushed into singing on those records, right? So I think I made I made most of the right decisions, if not all the right decisions at the time, right? I think the only thing that you would try to communicate is to a young person is to learn how to be in the moment and fully appreciate, you know, the moment for what it is, because, but I don't even know how possible that is for somebody so young. You know, you really only truly learn how to be in the now with age and experience, you know, and even as an adult, it can be hard to be fully present in the moment right now sometimes, especially with all the distractions that we have in the modern age.
Yeah, absolutely. You talk a little about being in the moment and looking back. 25 is an important number in your life, not only because of 25 years since Trouble Is came out, but at the age of 25, you got clean and sober. Has that, over the last 20 years, made an impact on the way you approach the music, the way you enjoy it, the way you relate to an audience?
Yeah, absolutely. It's freed me up. I mean, there's an incredible amount of clarity that comes with being 100% clean and sober and waking up, you know, refreshed every day and clear of conscience and state of mind and all of that stuff. And you know, also besides all of that, I'm able to bring, you know, my personal best to the table every time, you know, and sometimes it's better than others, but, you know, without being hindered, you know, by a hangover or anything like that. Right. But then being a father and being a husband, you know, has certainly altered my perspective of, you know, it's like, I don't know, you know, when you're young, it's like you want to prove yourself. You want to show everybody what you can do. And it's like, and as an adult, and as an example for my own family, it's like I want to show them things through what I'm doing. You know, I want to show them what's possible when you put your mind to something, and I want to show them, you know, what it's like to try and be a positive example, you know, and to think about, you know, words have power, and, you know, your actions, and, you know, that you have young people looking up to you, and just how to set that example, you know what I mean? And so those things have all influenced the music and my approach to what I do, for sure.
One of the interesting things is you're Roman Catholic. You converted after you became clean and sober, and yet blues is not exactly how can I say it's not always in line with a clean and sober and religious lifestyle. You've got murder ballads, you've got all kinds of things that really sort of get away from what you might do if you're in church. How do you put together that dichotomy in a way that works for both aspects of your life?
Well, I think because, I mean, look, first of all, I mean, as far as my faith goes, you know, I'm just kind of one of those people that I just try and be an example. I live my life a certain way, and then if somebody's curious, you know, then I'm willing to talk with them about it. But I don't make it my mission to go and cram my lifestyle down other people's throats, whether it be with religion or sobriety or any of that kind of stuff. I feel like everybody's on their own path, and the best thing I can do is just to be some sort of example that maybe piques their curiosity, and then I'm willing to share. But if you look over the course of my career, the music that I've written since 2003, 2004, there's not, you know, it's all very positive stuff. You know, I'm not writing a lot. I'm not writing songs, or at least not as frequently as I did originally, about infidelity and, you know, the bad things. And it's also not even because of my belief system, but also because I believe as a human being that music has power, and I have a responsibility, and I have to take responsibility for what I put out there, right? And so my goal has been to bring positivity and good feelings, and, you know, through the music into other people's lives, you know. And to basically, you know, music can be a celebration. It's to bring people closer together, not divide people, and to celebrate life's ups and downs together, and to talk about it, make sense about it, you know, stuff. But I still enjoy the old school, you know, the story about, you know, my woman ran off with the bus driver, you know.
Yeah.
I still love me a good old, you know, fashioned blues song like that, without a doubt. I'm just, you know, that's what I grew up with.
Sure.
I've seen you playing like several times, and one of the details of your style that never fails to grab my attention is that you keep your soulfulness in your solos without trying to pack too many notes on them, giving a space for the groove, the bending, the vibrato. Were you ever inclined at all in some point or your musical development to go after the shredder path and just write guitar solos that go on forever?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm a guitar player. I love guitar solos. I love hearing people play guitar. I love listening to great guitar players. But even I can only listen to so much guitar soloing, right? So it's like, you know, when I feel inspired, I will follow that. You know, if I'm in the moment and it's taking me somewhere, I'll follow it where it leads me, and hopefully I'll be able to resolve it at the right time. And if that's a 4-minute guitar solo or a 6-minute guitar solo, or, you know, 12-minute long jam, who knows? But sometimes enough is enough. So it's just knowing, you know, when to stop.
Isn't that the case for a lot of life?
Right.
Moderation in all things. Kenny, we want to thank you for your time today. The great Kenny Wayne Shepherd, whose upcoming album on Friday is Trouble Is 25th. It is an exciting and it's a wonderful album, and it is a comparison. And I think you'll find that comparing it to the previous album 25 years ago, you're going to have two great listening experiences there. Again, Kenny, thanks very much for your time.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. Hey, what's up, everybody? I just want to speak to you really briefly about a very cool item that we're going to have coming out in celebration of the 25th anniversary of my second album, Trouble Is. It's going to be a coffee table book. It's a lot of really cool stuff, starting with a completely new recorded version of the Trouble Is album called Trouble Is 25. In addition to that, we're gonna have a double vinyl LP version of that same new album, Trouble Is 25. Then you're also gonna get the live concert footage that we recorded and filmed of the kickoff of the 25th anniversary tour in my hometown of Shreveport, Louisiana. And then finally, you're also gonna get a documentary that we filmed about the making of the original Trouble Is album. And you need to click on the link, and if you order it straight through my website, I'm gonna sign every single one. So click the link now and we'll get it to you before Christmas. It'll be a great gift. I promise you'll love it, and we'll see you guys out on the road.